Well, today is Tuesday, and you know what that means. We got Tuesday wrestling coming up, but also decided I'm going to throw in the review on both days of New Japan Pro Wrestling's Wrestle Kingdom 15. All of that will be discussed, reviewed, and talked about on this episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling from AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, matches, wrestlers, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So before I begin reviewing all the shows, I did mention in the previous episode that I was going to have Wrestle Kingdom 15 on a separate episode, but I felt right now I'm a little behind on what I'm doing right now, reviewing every event that's been thrown in my wake. For example, right now I find out there's more Japanese wrestling shows that came about, two from what's their name? Two coming from All Japan Pro Wrestling, DDT Pro Wrestling, Tokyo Yoshi Pro, Stardom, and of course Pro Wrestling Noah. Now I haven't reviewed these events of recently, but I am gonna get on them because from what I'm looking at right now from people who are viewing, you guys love how have a separate episode where I talk about these Japanese promotions because some of you guys are very interested in knowing about these guys, about these promotions from Japan. So that's pretty much what I've been doing. So I will continue doing certain things right now at this point. I'm combining Tuesday Wrestling with AEW Dark and Impact Wrestling with Wrestle Kingdom 15 on both days. There is another show coming up with them. I might throw them in the Japanese section. So that one will be on a separate episode. That's the New Year's Dash. So I will explain that at another time. But for now, let's start with reviewing the first day of Wrestle Kingdom. Okay, day one of Wrestle Kingdom 15. This took place on January 4th of this year at the Tokyo Dome, which we love watching. Now, for those who are new to this channel, you should know this event by New Japan Pro Wrestling is like their biggest event that starts out the year. It's their version of WrestleMania. That's why they always start it at the earliest of January. Now, they recently, about a year ago, they began doing a 2-day event because they normally go throughout the whole day. But they decided to cut it in half and put more matches, separate matches, to make it more interesting. So they've been doing that. Now, we're talking on day one, January 4th. The first match is a Rambo match that is for the KOPW, which stands for the King of Pro Wrestling Trophy. Now, there's been a lot of wrestlers that participated, 21 to be exact. So let's go through all 21 who actually participated. Chase Owens, Tomohiro Ishii, Minoru Suzuki, Yuji Nagata, Toa Henare, Hiroki Goto, Yujiro Takahashi, Yoshihashi, Togi Makame, Tomoaki Humna, Hiroyoshi Tenzan, Rocky Romero, Doiki, Sho, Bushi, Tiger Mask, Bad Luck Fale, Gabriel Kidd, Yuya Umura, Yura Tsuji, and of course, last year's winner, Toru Yano. Now, all these men participated in this particular event, but however, the only way to advance is there's 4 standing. Now, majority of the match, I've been seeing Chase Owens, who somehow was able to get in the front. Now, he's saying that this is his time, so he picked the unluckiest number. So he ended up in number 1. But apparently there were still old rivalries between Minoru Suzuki and Yuji Nagata. So there's been a lot of mixed matches of how it's going. Tomo decided to stab his own partner, Togi Maka because he wanted to win, and he aligned himself with Tenzan. Now, I don't know how Maka would feel about that, but it's kind of really interesting. But however, I'll skip right now near the end. Bushi decided not to allow any of the three young lions who were involved in this, but they were all eliminated anyway. But however, the smartest person was Toru Yano. He was the last entry. So what happened is, once he was the last entry, he stayed out of the ring, and referee declared the 4 winners. And here are the winners: Chase Owens, Bushi, Belloc Fale, and Toru Yano. Now, this was unusual that happened, but Toru was playing safer on the outside. But however, one of the competitors was Rocky Romero. He was supposed to be commentating with Kevin Kelly and Chris. So he only needed 10 minutes, and he was going to join. So it was interesting. Now, those particular individuals will be participating in the second day. So I'll get to that in a separate segment. Now, first match, this is a battle of the junior heavyweights between the winner of the Best of the Super Juniors, Hiromu Takahashi of Los Ingobernables, versus the winner of the Super J Cup, El Fantasma of Bullet Club. Now, El Fantasma made it clear that he wants to face Hiromu because he was pretty much upset that he was unable to participate at the Best of the Super Juniors. So he decided that he wanted to face him. Now, whoever won this match will get the chance to face for the second day against the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, Taiji Ishimori, who also is a member of Bullet Club. Now, in this particular match, it was a very brutal match. Now, if you know El Fantasma, he's the most despicable person in the ring. He doesn't care about the rules. He just cares about winning. But the way he actually faced Hiromu was a lot more different. Even Hiromu himself mentioned in the post-match interview that something was odd. Something was out at foot here for him. But the match was amazing. Even though El Fantasma tried to break him in half, but it wasn't enough, somehow Hiromu was able to pick up the victory. But however, his body took so much beating from El Fantasma. But he did suspect that maybe this was part of the plan by Taiji Shimori, because he would not want to face him. Because if you guys don't know, back in Jinju months ago, it was Taiji Shimori who beat Hiromu for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship back then. So Hiromu will face Taiji in the second day, and we'll get that at another segment. Now, the next match, this is for the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Championship. This is against the winners of the World Tag League, the Gorillas of Destiny, Bullet Club members Tama Tonga and his brother Tongaloa, along with Master Heater, Yado, facing off against Suzuki-gun members Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr. of Dangerous Tekkers, and they brought along Doiki, who is going to keep Yado in check. The match was unbelievably good. It did show one thing about that Tama Tonga and Tonga are determined to prove that they are the best. They are 6 times IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, but as for Zack Sabre Jr.'s case, he thinks, you guys are a bunch of losers. You won those titles 6 times, but you lost them 6 times. So they're determined to win. Even Dangerous Tekkers made it clear that they will not leave Wrestle Kingdom without the title. But fortunately, it did not happen that way. Apparently, there was an interference. Ref didn't see that and allowed, apparently, Tama used the Iron Claw on Taichi, allowing the win. Even Zack Sabre Jr. was not too pleased. He's upset that this happened, but he has declared he wants rematch for those titles back. Now, the next match, well, before we get to the next match, we had an interesting video package from none other than the Death Rider himself, Jon Moxley. We haven't seen Moxley in months, since February. Now, as you know, a while back, we have been seeing Kenta, who is currently the briefcase holder of the IWGP United States title for a contract against Jon Moxley. He's been demanding Moxley to show up, but Moxley made a good warning. He said he doesn't care who wins for this match to win the briefcase. He doesn't care if it's Kenta or Satoshi Kojima. He just gave them a warning. Now, this match was utterly good between Kenta and Satoshi Kojima. It did show that Kojima was like, okay, this is his last time being in Wrestle Kingdom. We haven't seen him in Wrestle Kingdom for a while now. So he's playing like a veterans game versus a younger talent. But the match was unbelievably good. And as always, Kenta always finds a way to ensure he wins. But he did have a problem that Kojima had Tenzan by his corner. He's telling him to take a hike, leave, get out of here. He doesn't want him there because he thinks that Tenzan is going to interfere. Tenzan has no business interfering. He's just there to support him, but he doesn't care. He wanted him gone. But even though he did not do anything, but he still won the match. Kenta still won no matter what. But I'm sure he's happy that he will finally get what he wanted, facing Jon Moxley. Now, I think the next match is a grudge match. This is between, yes, the Great Khan of the Empire versus the leader of Chaos. The ace himself, Hiroshi Tanahashi. As you know, Great Khan had targeted Tanahashi for months, dating back all the way to the World Tag League and attacking him through the knee, and he had enough of him. This was one of those moments where it's like, okay, does Tanahashi has what it takes to beat him at his age? And that's one of those key things that played out very, very good. But however, the Great Khan wants to make a name for himself and prove Tanahashi's done, he's over, he's history, he needs to go. But it did not went exactly like Great Khan's, like Ace as Tanahashi, who's been the ace for a long time, who carried New Japan out on its back for years. He prevailed by doing the flop splash on him. It was unbelievable. And I don't think Great Khan did not expect that to come. So he won. That is a pretty good grudge match. But the next grudge match relates to the Empire. We're talking about the leader, Will Ospreay, who's facing off against his former best friend, who's been like a brother to him, the leader of Chaos, Kazuchika Okada. Now, this dates back all the way to the G1 climax where Will Ospreay stabbed him in the back by applying the hidden blade on him, telling him he has held him back. But this match was so good. I was so amazed how this story was told. Will Ospreay knows for a fact he already lost to Okada twice. But this time he believes by beating him, it's over. He's the one who's going to carry the company on his back. But like Okada, he doesn't give up. He's always been the guy to lead by example, even in New Japan. No matter what B. Priestley, his girlfriend, is right there by his side. Everything he tried to do, it did not work completely on Ospreay's favor. But we did witness the return of the Rainmaker finisher, and this time he finished him off with it. He normally has been using the money clip submission, which is really good, but having the Rainmaker, that is golden. So I loved it. Now we get to the main event. This is for both titles of the IWGP Heavyweight Championship and the Intercontinental Championship between the Golden Star, Kota Ibushi, and Tetsuya Naito. This is one of those matches that showed what a great story has been telling. Kota Ibushi, who we all know he should have been facing Naito to begin with, but Naito took pity of him and decided to give him an opportunity to face him on the first night. Since Jay White decided, I'm going to take the first night off. I'll just let you decide who you're going to face. So this is one of those matches where it did tell. Now both men did everything they could do in their arsenal to take each other out. But none of them could give up until finally Kota Ibushi applied the Kamigoye knee shot right in his face. Now, we did not know what's going to expect when he won, but however, Tetsuya Naito gives him both titles and raises his hand, congratulating him that he finally did what he wanted. And he finally claimed, Kota Ibushi finally can say that he's a god. But however, the party was crashed by none other than Jay White, who claims that he is the true champion, that he is the real God, that he will fulfill his destiny, that Kota Ibushi will only hold that title for one night only, that he will get those titles around his waist. So, that was the first night of Wrestle Kingdom 15. So let's go on to the second night right now. Alright, so we're in the second night of New Japan Pro Wrestling's Wrestle Kingdom 15. Now, this has different matches, but a continuation with two of the matches that took place on the first night. So we're going to go from start to finish on this one. First match of the night is for the provisional KOPW 2021 trophy. Now, as I mentioned, there were 4 people who remained in the Rambo match. That was Bushi, Chase Owens, Bad Luck Fale, and of course, last year's winner, Toru Yano. Now, much of this match played strategy. As you know, Fale and Chase Owens are in fact members of Bullet Club. Now, they can easily win using their tag team experience to get rid of Bushi and Toru Yano. Now, however, Fale is a bit more smarter than anybody thought. All you need is one pin. The moment he saw that Bushi and Yano were outside the ring, Fale realized he can still pin them in the front. But it did draw them both into the ring. So he played that one out. But however, the match could have gone into Fale's favor, but if it wasn't for the referee who got involved when he saw Fale and Chase Owens discussing who was going to win. So he got in the way, he brought that himself, but out of nowhere, he did not see the Toru Yano once again. He actually applied a double low blow on both of these guys, allowing himself to win again the 2021 trophy. And that is the most craziest thing. Even Rocky himself said, I knew he was going to win it, so he always had his bet on Toru Yano. Now, the next match, this is for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles. With the challengers, Master Wato and Ryusuke Taguchi versus the current tag team champions of Suzuki-gun, consistent of Yoshinobu Kanemaru and El Desperado. Now, as you know, these guys have been dominant for the past couple of months, even though no one has challenged them. They did not have the Junior Tag League happening. They continue to dominate by beating Sho and Yo, LIJ, but this was a pretty good match. But this time, there was a little something different. Kanemaru always comes out with a bottle of whiskey to spray on the faces of his opponents. But this time, it did not go exactly like that they wanted. But once again, in this particular match, the Suzuki-gun, El Desperado, and Kanemaru once again retained the titles, being a most dominant junior heavyweight. This time, this is going to be their second reign that they've ever done from a few years back. Next match, this is the one match that many people even talked about. This was for the Never Openweight Championship between Empire member Jeff Cobb and LIJ member Shingo Takagi. This is one of those matches that it was so brutal, so hardcore, where these men were determined to beat each other to the ground. As you know, Jeff Cobb used to be the Never Openweight Champion, but he lost that to Will Ospreay. But this time, he's determined to get that title back on his waist. But it did prove who was the strongest. Both these men are the toughest SOBs ever, but only one gets to walk out as the Never Openweight Champion. And that person was none other than the Dragon himself, Shingo Takagi. As Kota Ibushi saying, the Never Openweight is the strongest belt ever. And that's what Shingo Takagi decided to do, to prove how strong you are. And he's always proven time and time again that's what he is. Now, the next match is a grudge match. This is between Evil, along with Dick Togo, versus his former tag team partner, Sanada. Now, these two known each other for a long time. They were members of Los Ingobernables de Japón until Evil defected to the Bullet Club. And they have not come across each other since his defection, until recently at the G1. But this time, Sonata finally got his chance. This was the most amazing match I ever seen because it did show that no matter what happened, that he felt betrayed by someone he trusted, someone who was his partner, who they've been tag teaming for a couple years. So, but however, the one thing that made this interesting is Dick Togo's involvement. But however, Dick Togo's always been the insurance policy for Evil to ensure he wins. He's done that on various occasions, but this time he was taking out a picture when Evil slammed him accidentally to a table, allowing for Sonata to pick up the victory by applying the moonsault on him. And this is a proud moment for him that he finally beat. But however, this match was mentioned by the commentators saying that whoever won this match will get a shot on whoever wins the double championship match for the main event. So Sonata will be the one guy who will challenge the winner. Now the next match, this is for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship between the winner of the Best of the Super Juniors, Hiromu Takahashi, versus the current champion, Taiji Shimori. Now this match, you can tell that Taiji Shimori knows how much Hiromu was hurt. Hiromu wasn't an idiot. He knew right from the get-go something was wrong. He knew that this is not the Phantasmo that he knew, but the way he was beating him the previous night was strange. So he figured that maybe Taiji Shimori had a thought of this. Most likely he might have. So he was using everything from what happened the previous night to try to wear him down. But however, Hiromu did not give up whatsoever. But it did give him the opportunity to pick up the victory once again, regaining the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship from Taiji. So he is now once again the champion. Now the next match, which is the main event, we have for the IWGP Heavyweight and Intercontinental Championship between Jay White, the challenger, who also has the briefcase that he got from Kota Ibushi, versus the current champion, Kota Ibushi. Now, Jay White has been claiming that he is the true champion, so he wants people to get that right. But every maneuver that he tried, it was like so insane how Jay White was doing everything. He even tried to take him out outside the ring. He wasn't trying to pin him. He tried everything to wear him down, to ensure that he has no energy left, no strength left for him to pick up a victory or apply any of his arsenal that he had in his playbook. But it seems nothing worked in Jay White's favor. But however, he tried the one person that he knew would always have his back. I'm talking about the Weasel himself, Gedo. So he even tried Gedo, but the best moment is when Kota Ibushi gave him the knee to the face, and that took him out. But the best way how this ended is when Kota Ibushi applied the Kamigoye, allowing himself to win the match. Now, however, when he pinned him, he had no clue what was going on. But as soon as he realized that he won, it was basically the biggest dream of his life, knowing that he is still the champion. Now, as soon as he realized that he won, here comes Sonata. Now, Sonata didn't show up there to, in fact, to cause any trouble, but he came in peace. So he's asking him that he would like to be his next volunteer. Now, there was no secret in anybody's mind. If you followed the recent G1 Climax, Sonata did beat Kota Ibushi once before. So, Kota Ibushi has no problem accepting the challenge. So he knows that he and his match against Sonata will last forever. So he's proud of whoever is going to challenge him for these titles. That's who Kota Ibushi is. He's not going to back down from a fight. Now, however, in the post-match interviews that happened, Jay White is still in disbelief that he couldn't believe he did not fulfill his destiny. But that's when he announced to the world that he's quitting New Japan Pro Wrestling and leaving. Now, we don't know if this is a shoot or a work or whatever. But whatever it is, We'll see what happens in the upcoming weeks or months, depending how this goes. So, I think that's it for now with the New Japan Pro Wrestling Wrestle Kingdom 15. Let's move on to the actual Tuesday wrestling events that I've been following: AEW Dark and Impact Wrestling. Okay, so normally I do the Tuesday wrestling every single time, but because I was behind with the New Japan stuff, I decided I'm gonna put it all together for here for all of you guys. So let's talk about AEW Dark. This one went up to a 2.5 hour event. Now, as you know, this event, AEW Dark, happens right after Dynamite. And during that time, they were still dealing with the loss of Brody Lee. They did an amazing tribute show. But in this one, there was something special that you don't get to see on television. But if you have a YouTube to watch, watch it. And you see what I'm talking about. The first match, we have Nick Komoroto versus Jungle Boy. Now, this was a surprise for all of us. Jungle Boy comes out not using the Jurassic Express theme. He comes out with the song Tarzan Boy by Baltimora. It was revealed, including it was confirmed on Twitter as well, Tony Khan bought the rights to that song to Tarzan Boy as a gift to Jungle Boy. So technically, if you guys are not understand how this works, if you buy the rights to the music, you get something out of it as well. But however, if you guys aren't familiarized with Jungle Boy, before AEW, he used to use this song as a theme song before joining AEW. So, what better way to use his Christmas gift as a theme song? So, everybody was having a lot of fun with it, including Taz, if you guys actually saw him. But this match was pretty good. You saw Nick Komoroto as a big guy versus a very athletic Jungle Boy. Now, you can say Jungle Boy is going to win this match. Yes, because he is the star of the show, and he actually won. Big happiness the way it went for Jungle Boy. We know he can compete not only as a tag team competitor, but also as a single competitor. That's what he was doing before forming Jurassic Express with Marco and Luchasaurus. The next match, this is between Alex Gracia and Nyla Rose. This is part 2, their encounter. So basically, I don't know why Alex Gracia decided to face Nyla Rose, even though she lost to her. And once again, she lost to her again. But Vicky Guerrero was not amused, and he wants her to teach her a lesson. So what Nyla did, pulled out a table from underneath the ring and put her through a table once again. But the real question is, will there be a part 3? Who knows? We'll see what happens. Like they're saying, 1 time, failure, 2 times, a failure, but 3 times, you may get lucky. So we'll see what happens. But the next match, we have Ariel Levy from Chile facing off against SCU member Scorpio Sky. Now, I don't need to tell you how the match went. I'll just tell you anyway. Scorpio Sky won. Now, the next segment, this one was a real funny segment. We had Marco Stunt addressing of the arrival of none other than -1, or as we like to call him, Brody Lee Jr. Yes, the Exalted One's heir has arrived. It appears he has a beef with him, and they start fighting each other. As soon as they got into each other's face, here comes Cody, Matt, QT, the ref. They're trying to separate them, but that was a great segment. I have to say, you don't get to see this on TV. This is one of those things I mentioned. You guys got to watch it on YouTube. So it's really, really great, in my opinion. Now, the next match, we have Aaron Solo versus Rey Fenix. This is more of another warm-up for Rey Fenix, since we all know he's, in fact, going to face Kenny Omega this Wednesday at New Year's Bash against Kenny Omega. So, I can tell you, you can guess it too. Rey Fenix won his match, but it was a very good match. I like this one. Next match is Peter Avalon versus Angel Fashion. I can tell you anyway, Peter Avalon won. He kept his streak going as he normally would. Now, the next match we have is a, a tag team women's match between Kylie King, Tasha Price versus the winners of the women's tag team tournament, Ivelisse and Diamante. But this match was pretty interesting. But one thing I did like in the ending of this match is how Diamante was able to put Kylie King in a submission. She used her own arms to leverage to put her in a very interesting submission move, allowing her to win. And this was a really good way to end it that way. Next match, we had Mike Verna once again. This time has his beef with the Gun Club. He this time switched up the ante to team up with Bear Country, who has been very impressive in the last couple of weeks in Dark. Again, so the Gun Club was, as you know, I don't know what's his beef with the Gun Club, but this time he brought other guys that he thought maybe for a fact they can take him out. But was one of the toughest matches the Gun Club has ever faced. But they always come on top as a family that they are. The next match we have Vipers versus Shauna. Now, I've always been a big fan of Shauna because ever since I saw her the first time, I'm always been impressed. And not to mention, I do like her recent gear using the Dragon Ball Z style. I'm like, but however, this is a different type of Shauna. She's very different from the last time. I feel like this time, ever since the pandemic happened, that she reinvented herself to be something different. But the real question is she becoming a heel? We don't know. We just got to wait and see in the upcoming weeks when we see any changes. Hopefully she will be next week at Dark. Next match, we have Baron Black versus Matt Sydal, who is also doing a little warm-up since we know he's facing Cody on Wednesday. But I can tell you anyway, Matt Sydal won this one as always, using his submission moves that he's been using these past few months since he first arrived. The next match is another one's match. We have Ashley Vox versus La Mera Mera Thunder Rosa. And as I've always been a fan of Thunder Rosa, she comes out wearing like a Selena outfit. Yeah, if you guys are not familiarized in the music business, then you guys get off my bus. So if you are in the business, this Selena character is a female singer who died years ago, and she was dressed up in the similar purple outfit that she wore on her last concert before she died. Because if you guys must know, she lives in Texas. Selena's from Texas, so why not? But it was a good match, and this is not the first time Ashley Vox has come across Thunder Rosa. They have met on various occasions. Mostly I'd seen them at NWA. But I don't think she's part NWA anymore, since we do know that many of the wrestlers have been leaving. And I might talk about that on the upcoming podcast that I might do on that. But however, Thunder Rosa is the winner on this one, and she will face Britt Baker at the second day of New Year's Dash. Now, the next match is a tag team match between Lee Johnson, Sean Dean versus the controversial The Acclaim, who these guys have been targeting the Bucks, claiming that their time is done. It's time for them to take over, become the hottest tag team in AEW. But however, they had to go through these guys first, with Lee Johnson, a member of the Nightmare family, who he dissed, saying that he only picks up their bags. I don't think so. But however, they did put up a good fight against the Acclaim, but it was still not enough against them. So the Acclaim won this match, but we will see the Acclaim on Wednesday on a super huge 8-man tag team where they team up with the Hybrid 2, who also had issues with the Bucks, facing against the Bucks and SCU members Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels. Next match, we have Fuego del Sol versus Danny Limelight. This is the first time we get a wrestling match where one is not the jobber, the other's not the huge star. But however, I'm a fan of these two guys. I even met Danny Limelight on various occasions here in San Diego during certain independent shows. But however, the way he won this one, he did some sort of a modified version of a Spanish fly and picked up the victory. Now, people have already said on Twitter that what's next, he should pick up an AEW contract. Well, we may never know. We do know he made appearances in New Japan Pro Wrestling, but we don't know if New Japan Pro Wrestling has any interest in him at all. We just don't know yet. All we got to do is wait and see in the upcoming weeks what happens. Next match is a four-way match with different people from different tag teams. First one, we have Angelico of the Hybrid 2, Griff Garrison of the Varsity Blondes, Darius Martin of Top Flight, and of course, Frankie Kazarian of SCU. This match was so intense. Now, you know, each of these guys have their guy in the corner, but however, there was one guy who would do whatever it takes to ensure his partner wins. I'm talking about the loudmouth prick, Jack Evans. So he got in the way, but the partners got into a brawl until Darius Martin took all of them out. But however, the match ended with a surprise win by Frankie Kazarian. So he picked up the victory while the tag teams were taken out. Next match, we have Michael Nakazawa versus the Spanish God, Sammy Guevara. Now, you know Nakazawa, he always uses the oil to make sure he wins, but it wasn't effective enough against a guy like Sammy. As always, Sammy always wins his matches, but however, during his post-match, he did stated he doesn't care who will face him, he will beat them silly the same way he did to Nakazawa and his previous opponent a week ago. So he just gave them a warning. Now the main event is Serpentico, along with Luther of the Chaos Project, versus Dark Order member 5. Now, we haven't seen 5 in the match at last week's tribute. I did mention this to several of my friends that even Twitter, some people question why wasn't 5 involved in the entire event of Brody Lee. There's a simple logical question. He had an important job, and he was alongside Brody Lee Jr. Now, keep in mind, you got an 8-year-old boy who lost his dad, but you need someone who was there to cheer him on, to keep him all happy, knowing that he's having a good time. And 5, he didn't mind. He said he didn't care. It just, he wanted to be close to the kid to ensure he has a smile on his face. But this time, this was a match where he wanted to dedicate it to Brody, no matter what. But however, he had his hands full when Luther got involved. So basically, you know Luther, how he screams. Yeah! Yeah, he screams like a little girl. But his involvement did not stop 5 whatsoever. He did pick up the victory, winning his match representing the Dark Order. But however, we just witnessed the appearance once again of Brody Lee Jr., aka -1. He actually made some good ranting dissing to Luther about his third eye. I thought it was so good. This kid, I feel like he will be the next future star of wrestling in years to come. I'm so happy. I loved it. I enjoyed how Brody Lee Jr. actually took his spot. I mean, I know his dad would be proud of him. I can't wait to see what this kid. I hope they bring him more. That would be a great thing to watch. So I think that's it right now. So let's move on to Impact Wrestling. Alrighty then. So Impact Wrestling started their first show of the year. So let's go with the first match. This was a regular 4-way match for the participants, the Super X Cup that's going to take place this coming Genesis, I think. So here are the participants, the 4 people. We have Ace Austin along with Madman Fulton, Blake Christian, who I have mentioned various times on the Independents. He is one of the fantastic wrestlers. Casey Navarro, who I'm not familiarized with, and of course, Crazy Steve. Now, much of this match, Ace Austin was being smart. He had his gorilla, his sort of insurance policy, Madman Fulton, to pull out the wrestler so he can take him out. But every moment that he tried to do that, he thought he had the upper hand, but however, you don't know what to expect. the one person the people who I kind of expected the most was Blake Christians, because he's an unbelievable wrestler. He had made a name for himself not only in the independents, he like GCW, Warrior Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong. What else? I mean, he's made his appearances at various locations, but he was one of those guys that you got to pay attention. But we'll see what happens. But the match ended out of nowhere with Crazy Steve winning. Yes, Crazy Steve won. That was a big, like, wow. I would have assumed Ace Austin, but boy, I thank God I was wrong. Now, as you know, the main event we had is Sami Callihan and Eddie. So he gave out his little video package as a message to Eddie Edwards. As you know, they've been going back and forth with this whole thing with them for a couple years. So this could be their last match facing off, unless one of them ends up dead. So we'll see where that goes. That's the main event that took place for that night. Now, once again, AEW did another advertisement, this time announcing what's happening on this Wednesday's New Year's Bash on Dynamite. So, when he was done with that, Tony Khan had a very message to send to the man who stabbed him, or the man who screwed him, Don Callis. As you know, Don Callis screwed Tony Khan on Winter is Coming, but Don Callis says, no, you screwed yourself. Does that sound familiar to all of you guys? Yes, it does. It's the same thing we saw with Bret Hart during that Montreal screw job we mentioned. So basically, everybody knows it was Don Callis who screwed AEW. But no, he's saying AEW screwed AEW. But we'll see what happens. I would love to see an invasion, but we haven't seen it yet. Now, next match, well, not the next match, we have a little segment coming in from Kenny Omega along with the Good Brothers and Don Callis, talking about how they're going to deal with Rich Swann and the Motor City Machine Guns. How they know the Motor City Machine Guns are legends, but they don't have the titles anymore. So that's one of the rants they put out. So they have a strong message believing they will come on top and they will rule the world. Now, the next match we have Cousin Jake teaming with Rhino, facing off against Joe Dorian, and to Cousin Jake's surprise, Cody Deaner, his cousin. As you know, Cody Deaner embraced the ideology of Eric Young, who believes that Impact Wrestling has a sickness, that he believes that the world doesn't belong to them. It belongs to him, Joe Dorian, and those who believe in his version of the truth. Now, Jake has been trying to get through him, but the entire time, Cody was already giving in so much. But however, the match won thanks to Cody Deaner, who gave a low blow to his cousin, allowing him to win the match. But however, Eric Young wanted to give these two guys a beatdown. But however, they were rescued by none other than the hardcore legend himself, Tommy Dreamer. He did state he's sick and tired of what Eric Young has done, what he's been doing since his return. But this time he did state it, that now that the odds are in their fate and even. So he's saying it's me, Jake, and Rhino versus the three of you guys, Dorian, Cody, and Eric Young, in an old school match at Hard to Kill. And of course, Eric Young, without hesitation, he accepted. Now, the next interview we have is Matthew Palmer. Now, if you guys aren't familiar as what happened a couple weeks ago, Moose got in the face of Willie Mack, and one of the security guards accidentally ripped off the shirt of Moose, and he took it personally, and he was beating up the security guard, Matthew Palmer. But he did state that he won't last with them in a ring for 3 minutes. Now, here's the thing. Matthew did state, I don't have to beat you. I just have to last 3 minutes. Which was true. But we'll get to that later. That match was a little later of the evening. Next thing we have is AC Romero, who is in fact trying to prove that Larry D was set up. When he was accused of shooting Bravo. However, his first person, it was the one person who we all thought was him, was Johnny Swinger. Now, as you know, Johnny Swinger saying that he was innocent and he sees Larry D's the one who did it. But you know his cockiness, how he talks. You know what I'm talking about, Big Daddy? I'm like, nope. So I hate to say this to Ace Romero. Don't take anything what comes out of a Swinger's mouth. You know he's gonna send you on a tailspin. But we'll see what happens. Now, as you know, Deonna Purrazzo has been making a name for himself, who made impressive matches, having the first ever Iron Man match for 30 minutes, beating Jordynne Grace for the title. But however, she thinks that Taya Valkyrie did nothing to her, but we all know what happened. Taya Valkyrie and Rosemary beat both Kimberly and Deonna Purrazzo out of the tournament, and she took offense, but decided to pick a fight with Rosemary and Taya Valkyrie. Rosemary already lost to Deonna, but this time Taya Valkyrie is ready up for the challenge. But you know, she gave her a very good statement. He tells her, "You are afraid of me." And it's true. She talks the talk, but can she walk the walk? All we gotta do is wait until we get to Hard to Kill and see what happens. Then we have a very interesting segment. As you know, since the return of Manic, we all know who's behind the Manic outfit. It's TJP. Now, as you know, Rohit Raju and Chris Bay are in a triple threat match for the X Division Championship against Manic. All they need to do is prove that TJP is Manic. So, what they do is they get into his face. They tell him, let's set up a tag team match. The two of us versus you and Manic. So TJP goes, you guys should know that me and Manic don't get along. We're like oil and water. We don't mix. So he thinks, so when they realize it's him, it is him. You know it's him. So basically the talk is going around saying, yes, TJP is Manic. There's no doubt about that. While that happened, Rosemary was in the back, but for some reason, Tennille Dashwood and Caleb with the K showed up, decided to stir the pot this time to Rosemary, saying that something about Taya Valkyrie, that, oh, she's just using you and all this and that she's not your best friend. You know how Tennille Dashwood is. She likes to stir things up. That's always been her case. But we'll see what happens, because she will be in Taya Valkyrie's corner on Hard to Kill. Now we get to the semifinals of the Knockouts Tag Team Tournament. This is between Jordynne Grace and Jazz facing off against Havoc and Nevia. Now, this was a pretty good match. Jazz hasn't missed a beat. I love this match, but the real question is who will go and face Hogan and Steels in this match. It was very hard for me to paint a picture, if you know what I mean. So, the winners for this one, I'll tell you anyway, is Havoc and Nevea. But Jordynne knows she messed up. But later on in the evening, she did talk to Jazz saying, I'm sorry I screwed up, you know, and all this. And she kind of said, look, I dragged you into this. You were retired. But she did make a statement, you haven't missed a beat. I mean, you can hang with the newer generation. So what she did propose for this Saturday in Genesis, Jordynne Grace versus Jazz at Genesis. And Jazz accepted the challenge. So this is going to be an interesting match to see. Next thing we have is interview with Rich Swann and Immortal Steam Machine. Because as you know, they took offense to Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers what they've been doing. As you know, the Motor City Machine Guns are tag team legends in Impact. And Rich Swann, he is a guy who's making a name for himself, believing that he's telling Omega, you are an AEW champion, not an Impact. Why are you bringing that title here? So they decided they're going to confront them. But what they didn't realize, they were ambushed because they knew they were going to be in the bus. But of course, Don Callis told everybody that Kenny Omega is the real champion. So we'll see what happens at Hard to Kill. But we will see what's going to happen in the upcoming weeks leading to Hard to Kill. Now, next thing we know, we have a little interesting segment. As you know, Deonna Purrazzo made a deal with the devil. And I'm talking about Father James Mitchell. The deal was they get rid of Su Yung and turn her back to Susie. But however, things got a little complicated for Father James Mitchell. When he told them Su Yung is no more, they didn't get exactly what they were looking for. And he didn't bring back Susie. He brought something new. And that person is, hello, I'm Susan. They don't know what to make of it. I don't know what Father James Mitchell did. I was like, okay, Susie, now Susan. What's next? Suzette? Who knows? So this is a very funny thing. I don't know what is going to happen. Now, let's get to the 3-minute challenge. As you know, Moose set up this match. However, it would have been easy for him to make the pin on Matthew Palmer. But he didn't do that. He was just toying with him. Try to wore him out. And believing at the last second he'll make the pin and win. But no, he decided, I'm going to torture him. But the moment he had him right where he wanted, we get a surprise visit from Willie Mack. And he allowed Matthew Palmer last 3 minutes and won the match, which Willie Mack was not too thrilled whatsoever. So basically, he was pissed. But we are going to see Willie Mack and Moose at an I Quit match this coming Saturday. Now, we had an interesting little segment with Ethan Page in therapy, but all of a sudden, person who was listening was the Karate Man. So, yeah, you know who he is. It's his alter ego. But he did state he's going to face him under his terms. So he said the Kumite at Hard to Kill. That's going to be an interesting to watch. I'm curious. I know probably you guys are too. Now, the main event was supposed to be a very interesting match between Eddie Edwards and Sami Callihan. They took this match so personal, you don't know where they're going to go with it. But however, it didn't go exactly. Ref had it with this crap, so he walked away. Ended in no contest, but Eddie was trying to finish him off. But somehow, Alicia Edwards found herself locked up in some sort of a cage. Eddie went looking for her, but out of nowhere, we just saw the return of none other than the most dangerous man, Ken Shamrock. And this time, Eddie whacked him once again with the baseball bat in the head, and Ken Shamrock told Alicia Edwards this was her fault for getting involved. But we'll see what happens. Eddie Edwards has his hands full with the return of Shamrock, but we'll see where to go. So, before I end the episode, I'm going to give you guys a little news update regarding to someone we know in the wrestling business, going back to being the elite. I'm talking about Marty Scurll. Alrighty, so as you know about what happened with Marty Scurll, Last year, he was accused for sexual allegations during the Speaking Out movement, but things have gone in a different direction for him since then. We do know he did sign a lucrative deal 2 years ago with Ring of Honor as the head booker of Ring of Honor. But however, that kind of changed a little bit. As you know, Ring of Honor had to stop doing their shows during the pandemic, but during this time, during June of 2020, he was out there um, accused of sexual allegations that took place at his native country of the United Kingdom. Now, Marty the Skrull did not deny what really happened. He did recall the event, but not 100% completely. He knows what he did, what happened, but he's not going to fight it. He let this person speak out. Now, we did know he did lost his position as the head booker to Delirious once again. A few months ago, he did his profile was removed from the Ring of Honor website, all this and that. But however, we're hearing now, since this word got departed, Dave Meltzer did note it. There is no way AEW will sign him because they're worried that AEW could get heat from this. As you know, they will never allow someone like this who was accused of sexual allegation. Now, we don't know if he had any contact with the Bucks or Omega or Cody or Hangman since that time. We do know, if you guys followed in recent episodes or in the podcast, Joey Janela did not get no contact from them asking him if these allegations were true. But that's a different story, and that's for another time. So, but there has been word recently by Dave Meltzer that he noted the only options at this point should be WWE and New Japan Pro Wrestling, because they don't find what happened to him irrelevant. No charges were filed against him. I know there's many people who would say that's a little crap, that this should have been, but it did not happen like that. But there has been reports coming in that WWE are interested in Marty Scurll. Now, we don't know if this is going to be 100% or when that will happen. All we can do is wait and see what is Marty Scurll's next step is going to be. So, I think that's it for now for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. The next episode will be the Japanese promotions. I got New Year's Dash, 2 days of All Japan Pro Wrestling, and of course, DDT Pro Wrestling. So, I'll see you guys next time in the next episode. And also, I will do the Wednesday Night War on Thursday. So, I must bid all of you guys adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.